Today I'm going over updated graphic settings for the new Rebirth map so that you could take your game from looking like this to looking like this. I'm taking you through my updated NVIDIA filters as well as the best Warzone graphic settings to maximize FPS. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Now we're going to start off here with the best Warzone graphic settings to maximize FPS, and then we'll drop in and I'll take you through my NVIDIA filters. So for our graphic settings here, first things first is display mode. There's a pretty annoying bug right now when you open Warzone. For some reason it opens in windowed. I have no idea why. Make sure you have this on full screen. Now your monitor and adapter are pretty much set at this point. Make sure they're correct with the highest one that you have, and your screen refresh rates should be as high as possible, whatever your monitor can handle. Now your render resolution, you want this at 100. Other people have this higher, but there is an FPS drop if you put this any higher, so I have mine on 100. Dynamic resolution disabled, aspect ratio is automatic, VSync is going to be disabled right here. Custom frame limit, I keep mine on unlimited. Brightness at 55, although this is totally your preference and you should basically use this to your advantage over here, these little squares, to figure out what the best brightness is. Display gamma is going to be on 2.2. NVIDIA highlights is going to be disabled. You don't want this on. You don't want anything taking away from that FPS, which this will. So we want this on disabled, and then reflex low latency is going to be enabled plus boost. Now, in terms of our quality, this is kind of the more important one here than our display. First things first, field of view. Put it on whatever you want. I have mine at 116, but you do want to make sure that your ADS field of view is set to affected, not independent. And you want to make sure your camera movement, this is a crucial one here, is on least. Now, in terms of our streaming quality, this is where we really starting to get into the juice of what is going to help our FPS increase. Streaming quality is going to be low. Now, if you want maximum FPS, you can turn texture resolution to very low, but I've noticed that this really doesn't render much in and it looks pretty bad. So I actually have mine on low here. Texture filter is going to be low, particle quality low, bullet impact and sprays enabled, although you can definitely disable this. There's not really a huge or really any FPS difference between disabled and enabled. Tessellation is going to be disabled here. Dismemberment and gore effects disabled. On-demand texture streaming disabled. Make sure you have your shaders installed at all times. If your shaders are installing while you're trying to play, that's going to give you an FPS drop. Filmic strength and film grain both at 0. NVIDIA DLSS disabled. Anti-aliasing disabled. Then these three right here. Depth of field, world motion blur, weapon motion blur. Crucial to have all of these disabled. Now let's talk shadow and lighting. This is a pretty important one. Another big one in terms of FPS changes. Shadow map resolution is going to be low. Cache, spot, and sun shadows right here, enabled. Make sure that you have these enabled. It's going to be another pretty big FPS difference right there. Particle lighting is going to be low. DirectX ray tracing is going to be disabled. Ambient occlusion disabled. And finally, we have screen space reflection disabled. So right there, you can see all of these kind of settings that we have for our quality in terms of graphic settings. These are really going to be important. Let's go ahead and jump into our NVIDIA filters. Now, before we jump into my NVIDIA filters, I'm a 4KD player. My whole goal is to help people get better at Rebirth. That's it. So for all things Rebirth news, settings, loadout videos, tip videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Now, for my NVIDIA filters right here, as I mentioned, we're taking our game from looking like this to then hitting Alt-Z, turning our filters on, and having it look like this. Much more color. I wanted to keep that rustic feel, that little bit of glow that it has to it, but I love the colors. I love the shadows. I feel like this looks a lot more crisp, a lot more clean. Now, first things first, and you need to make sure that you have these in these particular order. Brightness first, color second, details third. So let's go ahead and add our details in first, because that's going to be on the bottom. Sharpen at 50%. Clarity at 15%, HDR toning at 79%, and bloom at 0%. Next up, we have our color, which is going to be tint color is going to be 9%, tint intensity is going to be 5%, we've got temperature at 0.5, and then we have our vibrance at 40.7. I turned the vibrance down just a little bit to give us a little bit more of that rustic feel. Last up, we have brightness and contrast. Exposure is going to be at -1%, contrast at 0%, highlights at -16%, shadows at 100%, and gamma at 0%. So I'm going to scroll through them one more time for you so that you can really see them. Play with them a little bit, see what works best for you. Make sure you have those settings, though. Those are going to maximize your FPS in terms of Warzone settings. Hope you found today's video helpful. Let's get better today, and I will see you tomorrow.